What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the certifiably suave Dr. Disaster, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is out now on early release, and we have access to the first of the Steam data for this game, and naturally, plenty of people out there are trying to make excuses for why the title looks like a turd that won't flush.
Huh?
The toilet doesn't flush.
Seriously, the game reminds me of that turd that just won't go down the toilet. The Great Circle shares so many characteristics with a turd like that, it just kinda stinks, it's disgusting to look at. I mean, the faces just really look off to me. And the whole time I watch the game, I keep thinking the shitty gameplay is gonna go away and everything will get better, but it just lingers. I've watched a ton of the combat now for the game, and I keep thinking that this clunky experience is going to improve, but it's just a bad stealth game, which devolves into really bland and repetitive combat if you get caught. It dawned on me when watching this that stealth games generally can't afford to be as linear and story-driven as this, and at this point I'm pretty much resolved to telling everyone to avoid the hell out of this game.
Do not go in there. Woo!
But predictably, the Access media has gone to bat for Indiana Jones, giving it an 86 out of 100 over on Metacritic. Whenever it comes to something made by one of these massive corporate soulless machines, no matter how bad it is, these journalists have to give it a good score, or else they lose their early access. I mean, these are the same guys who gave Dragon Age the Veilguard an 82 out of 100. At a certain point, we just have to shrug our shoulders and accept the fact that these people are literally paid to praise the unflushable turd no matter what.
You smell terrific.
Meanwhile, nobody is playing this game on Steam, and the excuses have come flying in. Yes, the game is available on Game Pass, and yes, it's only in early access, but look at those numbers. That is absolutely pathetic for a game with this pedigree, being published by Bethesda and featuring Indiana freaking Jones. As a massive Indiana Jones fan myself, it's too bad that the whole time I'm looking at this game, I'm thinking,
come on, flush, you bastard.
Alright, me hearties, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't gotten to that already. Our Space Pirate crew has just hit another subscriber milestone, so it's time to ask the all-important question.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
We just keep chugging along, folks. We now have 101,000 space pirate a-holes in this fleet of ours, and the custom on this channel is that with every 1,000 subscribers, we add a new ship to the fleet in order to house the newcomers. This time, I selected the Lucrehulk class battleship from Star Wars, better known as the droid control ship from Episode 1. This was at the suggestion of one of you. If you have any recommendations for future ships, drop them into the comment section below. Super chats get bumped to the top of the list, but in any event, thanks for being here, everyone.
I knew it, I'm surrounded by assholes.
But alright, let's dive on into the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle numbers on Steam, which are not at all good. As I've been reporting, my contacts in the retail industry have told me that the pre-order numbers for this game on the retail side have been absolutely abysmal, which, yes, I know that most people buy digitally these days, but if you follow the sales trends, retail stores are usually fairly predictive of what the sales for the games are in general. and 24 pre-orders spread out over more than 40 stores in high-traffic areas. That's what I'm hearing from my retail contacts, and that number is not good, no matter how you slice it. That's why it was not surprising at all to see that on its launch day, this game only hit about 2,200 players on Steam. Now, cue all the people making all the obvious excuses for this game. They'll say that it's on Game Pass, so of course people aren't buying it. But let me point out the fact that another title that recently launched on Game Pass, Stalker 2, The Heart of Chernobyl, that game broke 120,000 players, and within the first couple of days of launch, they announced that they had sold 1 million copies of the game. So I don't think Game Pass is as popular as a lot of people think. And this one really is an apples-to-apples comparison between Stalker 2 and Indiana Jones, because just like Indiana Jones, Stalker launched on only the Xbox and PC. There's no PS5 version of either of them currently. So yeah, Indiana Jones just isn't stacking up with a game that was actually successful. And of course, people will rightly also point out that this is only the early access part of the launch, and that's definitely fair, but we can still tell that the max concurrent player count for Indiana Jones is not going to end up very good based on what we're seeing here with the early access numbers. For reference, this is a screenshot of the player count for Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 on the day that it launched its early access. They hit 96,000 players concurrently during early access, and then they went on to max out at about 225,000, selling millions of copies in the process and being one of the most successful games of the year. Obviously, considering that the Great Circle is at a little over 2% of the player count of Warhammer, things are not looking good for Indiana Jones. But the reviews for the game have finally dropped, and predictably, shitloads of the access media are giving this thing perfect scores. We'll take this one as an example of one of the positive ones where they are forced to admit that the gameplay for this thing isn't exactly good, though they still give the game a 90 out of 100 because these aren't gamers, these are propagandists who are just trying desperately to get you to buy things from their corporate overlords. It honestly sounds like the only reason they are justifying giving the game a good score is because it's Indiana Jones. But the review says, while Indiana Jones and the Great Circle might not deliver the most satisfying combat experience, gee, that's an understatement, it more than makes up for it with its sense of adventure, storytelling, and exploration. Machine Games and Bethesda Softworks have succeeded in crafting a journey that evokes the timeless thrill of Indy's cinematic quests, filled with puzzles, peril, and breathtaking locales. For fans of the franchise, this is the kind of adventure that makes you feel like you're stepping into the shoes of Dr. Jones himself, solving mysteries and outrunning danger at every turn. But this review here had a much more honest tone, in my view, and the actual score they give, a 60 out of 100, seems to match what they're saying much better. They wrote, "Ever since we caught wind of Machine Games making an Indiana Jones title, we've been very excited by the prospect, but ultimately, we're a little disappointed in the final product. The overall experience isn't bad, and it successfully sells the Indiana Jones fantasy, but the gameplay elements here just don't match up to the vibe of a fun-time indie adventure. Once again, they are noticing that the gameplay is terrible." And then they say, the pacing is all out of whack, the open stealth-driven levels don't work in the context of an Indiana Jones romp, and the game just feels at odds with itself overall. We're always up for trying something different and for teams breaking genre tropes, but in the end, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is at its most fun in fleeting moments, which is a shame considering the amount of care and attention that's been put into adapting this famous old franchise. And as for me, like I said, this game felt like the turd that wouldn't flush. I kept waiting for the action in the game to improve, for the shitty parts of it to go away, but it just doesn't. It's the same thing, over and over. And as a fan of stealth-based games, the Tenchu and Hitman franchises, as an example, are in my top 10 favorites of all time, but as a fan of this sort of game, this is really just too simplistic. The best stealth games are much less linear and obvious in their gameplay. In Hitman, for example, there are usually tons of different ways that you can dispatch your enemies. You have absolute freedom in how you decide to go about things. In Indiana Jones, you just pick up the nearest item lying conveniently next to you whenever you need it, and you just clunk your enemy over the head with it, whether they see you or not. But I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle into the comment section below, and we will talk there.
Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your captain is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.